At that time, the celestial denizens of the higher planetary system showered Malika Pushpa flowers grown in Nandana Kanana upon Krishna, the enemy of Bakasura. They also congratulated him by sounding celestial kettle drums and conch shells and by offering prayers. Seeing this, the cowherd boys were struck with wonder. Text 53. It was just as the senses are pacified when consciousness and life return, so when Krishna was freed from this danger, all the boys, including Balarama, thought that their life had been restored. They embraced Krishna in good consciousness, and then they collected their own calves and returned to Rajabhumi, where they declared the incident loudly. Okay. It was the practice of the inhabitants of Rajabhumi to compose poetry about the incidents that occurred in the forest. When Krishna performed his different activities of killing the asuras, they would compose all the stories in poetry or have this done by professional poets. And then they would sing about these incidents. Thus, it was written here that the boys sang very loudly. Okay, very good. Text 54. When the cowherd men and women heard about the killing of Bakasura in the forest, they were very much astonished. Upon seeing Krishna and hearing the story, they received Krishna very eagerly, thinking that Krishna and the other boys had returned from the mouth of death. Thus, they looked upon Krishna and the boys with silent eyes, not wanting to turn their eyes aside now that the boys were safe. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. Because of intense love for Krishna, the cowherd men and women simply remained silent, thinking of how Krishna and the boys had been saved. The cowherd men and women looked upon Krishna and the boys and did not desire to turn their eyes aside. Text number 55. The cowherd men, headed by Nanda Maharaja, began to contemplate. It is very astonishing that although this boy, Krishna, has many times faced many varied causes of death, by the grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it was these causes of fear that were killed instead of him. I like the way they said these causes of fear, in other words, the demons, that were killed instead of Krishna being killed. Purport. The cowherd men innocently thought, because our Krishna is innocent, the causes of death that appeared before him were themselves killed instead of Krishna. This is the greatest grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Text 56. Although the causes of death, the Daityas, were very fierce, they could not kill this boy Krishna. Rather, because they came to kill innocent boys, as soon as they approached, they themselves were killed exactly like flies attacking a fire. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Nanda Maharaja innocently thought, perhaps this boy Krishna formerly killed all these demons, and therefore in this life they are envious and are attacking. But Krishna is a fire, and they are flies. And in a fight between fire and flies, the fire always is victorious. Fighting is always taking place between the demons and the power of the Supreme Personality. Paritranayam sadhanam vinasaya chatushritam. Bhagavad Gita 4.8. Anyone who is against the control of the Supreme Personality of Godhead must be killed, life after life. Ordinary living beings are subject to karma, but the Supreme Personality of Godhead is always victorious over the demons. Text 57. The words of persons in full knowledge of Brahman never become untrue. It is very wonderful that whatever Gargamuni predicted, we are now actually experiencing in all detail. Wow. Purport by Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The purpose of human life is indicated in the Brahma Sutra, Atato Brahma Jigyasa. To make one's life perfect, in the past, present, and future, one must learn about Brahman. Because of intense affection, Nanda Maharaja could not understand Krishna as he is. Gargamuni was able to know everything, past, present, and future, by studying the Vedas. But Nanda Maharaja could not understand Krishna directly. Because of his intense love for Krishna, he forgot who Krishna was and could not understand Krishna's potency. Although Krishna is Narayana himself, Gargamuni did not disclose this. Thus, Nanda Maharaj appreciated the words of Gargamuni, but because of his deep affection, he could not understand who Krishna was, although Gargamuni had said that Krishna's qualities would be exactly like those of Narayana. So therefore, Krishna is Narayana. Text 58. In this way, all the cowherd men, headed by Nanda Maharaja, enjoyed topics about the pastimes of Krishna and Balarama with great transcendental pleasure, and they could not even perceive material tribulations. Wow. So no pain. They're completely happy. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Here is an instruction about the result of studying or discussing the Krishna Leelas that appear in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Satyo Hidi Avarudyate Tra Priti Bhi Susus Subis Tat Shnanat. Bhagavatam 1.1.2. Nanda Maharaja and Yasoda in Vrindavan appeared like ordinary persons of this material world, but they never felt the tribulations of this world, although they sometimes met many dangerous situations created by the demons. This is a practical example. If we follow in the footsteps of Nanda Maharaja, and the gopis, we can all be happy simply by discussing the activities of Krishna. Very important statement. Anartha pasamam sakshat bhakti yogam ahoksaje lokaisya janato vidvams chakre satvata samhitam. Srimad Bhagavatam 1.7.6. Vyasadeva has given this literature so that everyone may understand one's transcendental position simply by discussing Bhagavad Gita. Even at the present moment, everyone everywhere can be happy and free from material tribulations by following Srimad Bhagavatam. There is no need of austerities and penances, which in this age are very difficult to perform. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has therefore declared, Sarvatma Snapanam Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. By our Krishna consciousness movement, we are trying to distribute Srimad Bhagavatam so that anyone in any part of the world can be absorbed in the Krishna consciousness movement by chanting and hearing about the activities of Krishna and be free from all material tribulations. Wonderful. Text 59. In this way, Krishna and Balarama passed their childhood age in Rajabhumi by engaging in activities of childish play, such as playing hide and seek, constructing a make-believe bridge on the ocean, and jumping here and there like monkeys. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 10th canto, 11th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Childhood Pastimes of Krishna. Okay, so now we're going to go to chapter 12. The killing of the demon Aghasura. Oh boy, that's going to be exciting. This chapter describes in detail Krishna's pastime of killing Aghasura. One day, Krishna wanted to enjoy a picnic lunch within the forest, and therefore he went out early into the forest with the other cowherd boys, accompanied by their respective groups of calves. While they were enjoying their picnic, Aghasura, the younger brother of Putana, oh my God, what a terrible family that is, and Bakasura appeared there, desiring to kill Krishna and his companions. The demon who had been sent by Kamsa assumed the form of a python. Ooh, dangerous. Expanding himself to a length of 8 miles and the height of a mountain, his mouth seeming to extend from the surface of the earth to the heavenly planets. Having assumed this feature, Aghasura lay on the road. Krishna's friends, the cowherd boys, thought that the demon's form was one of the beautiful spots of Vrindavan. Let me read that again. The cowherd boys thought that the demon's form was one of the beautiful spots of Vrindavan. Thus, they wanted to enter within the mouth of this gigantic python. The gigantic figure of the python became a subject for their sporting pleasure, and they began to laugh confident that even if this figure were dangerous, Krishna was there to protect them. That's wonderful. In this way, they proceeded toward the mouth of the gigantic figure. Wow. Just imagine how scary that is. Krishna knew everything about Aghasura, and therefore he wanted to forbid his friends to enter the demon's mouth. But in the meantime, all the cowherd boys, along with their groups of calves, entered the mouth of that gigantic figure. Krishna was waiting outside, and Aghasura was waiting for Krishna, thinking that as soon as Krishna entered, he would close his mouth so that everyone would die. That's what demons like to do. They kill little boys. While waiting for Krishna, he refrained from swallowing the boys. In the meantime, Krishna was thinking of how to save the boys and kill Aghasura. Thus, he entered the mouth of the gigantic Asura, and when he was within the demon's mouth along with his friends, he expanded his body to such an extent that the Asura suffocated and died. Wow. After this, Krishna, by casting his nectarian glance upon his friends, brought them back to life, and with pleasure they all came out unhurt. Thus, Krishna encouraged all the demigods, and they expressed their pleasure and happiness. For a crooked, sinful person, there is no scope for Sayuja Mukti, or becoming one with the effulgence of Krishna. But because the Supreme Personality of Godhead entered the body of Aghasura, by his touch, this demon got the opportunity to merge into the existence of the Brahman effulgence and thus attained Sayuja Mukti. You see, Krishna is beneficial even for the demons. When this pastime was performed, Krishna was only 5 years old. 1 year later, when he was 6 years old, and he stepped into the whole Ganda age, this pastime was disclosed to the inhabitants of Raja. Parikshit Maharaja inquired, why is it that this pastime was disclosed only after 1 year? And yet, the inhabitants of Raja thought that it had been performed that very day. With this question, the 12th chapter ends. Okay, so that's an open-ended chapter. Text 1. Sri Sukadeva, Sri Sukha Uvasha. Sukadeva Goswami continued, O king, one day Krishna decided to take his breakfast as a picnic in the forest. Having risen early in the morning, he blew his bugle made of horn and woke all the cowherd boys, calves with its beautiful sound. Then Krishna and the boys, keeping their respective groups of cows before them, proceeded from Rajabhumi to the forest. At that time, hundreds and thousands of cowherd boys came out of their respective homes in Rajabhumi and joined Krishna. Wow, just imagine that. Hundreds and thousands of boys. keeping before them their hundreds and thousands of groups of calves. The boys were very beautiful, and they were equipped with lunch bags, bugles, flutes, and sticks for controlling the calves. There must be like a million, or it says hundreds and thousands of groups of calves. So not just hundreds of thousands of calves, but hundreds and thousands of groups of calves. The boys were very beautiful, and they were equipped with lunch bags, bugles, flutes, and sticks for controlling the calves. Text number 3. Along with the cowherd boys and their own groups of calves, Krishna came out with an unlimited number of unlimited number of calves assembled. Then all the boys began to sport in the forest in a greatly playful spirit. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. In his verse, the words Krishna Vatsar Asankhya Atai are significant. The word Asankhya means unlimited. Krishna's calves were unlimited. We may speak of hundreds and thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions, billions, trillions, tens of trillions, and so on. But when we go further to speak of numbers impossible for us to count, we are speaking of unlimited numbers. Such unlimited numbers are indicated here by the word asankhyatai. Krishna is unlimited. His potency is unlimited. His cows and calves are unlimited. And his space is unlimited. Therefore, he is described in Bhagavad Gita as Para Brahman. The word Brahman means unlimited. And Krishna is the supreme unlimited Para Brahman. Therefore, we should not consider the statements of this verse to be mythological. They are factual, but inconceivable. Krishna can accommodate an unlimited number of calves and unlimited measurement of space. This is neither mythological nor false. But if we study Krishna's potency with our limited knowledge, that potency will never be possible to understand. Atak Shri Krishna Nama Di Nabhavid Rayam Indriyai. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.2.109. Our senses cannot perceive how he, meaning Krishna, could keep an unlimited number of calves and cows and have unlimited space in which to do so. But this is answered in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita. Evam Prabhu Priyanam Cha Damnas Cha Samayasya Cha Avichintya Prabhavatvad Atra Kinchin Na Durgatam. Sri Sanatana Goswami and the Brihad Bhagavatamrita states that since everyone about Krishna, everything about Krishna is unlimited, nothing is impossible for him. It is in this sense that we have to understand this verse. Okay. So everything about Krishna is unlimited. Nothing is impossible for him. It is in this sense that we have to understand this verse. Okay. Text 4. Although all these boys were already decorated by their mothers with ornaments of kacha, gunja, pearls, and gold, when they went into the forest, they further decorated themselves with fruits, green leaves, bunches of flowers, peacock feathers, and salt minerals. Text number 5. All the cowherd boys used to steal one another's lunch bags. When a boy came to understand that his bag had been taken away, the other boys would throw it farther away to a more distant place, and those standing there would throw it still farther. When the proprietor of the bag became disappointed, the other boys would laugh, the proprietor would cry, and then the bag would be returned. Okay, well, that's good. This kind of playing and stealing among boys still exists even in the day in the material world, because this kind of sporting pleasure is present in the spiritual world, uh, from which this idea of enjoyment emanates. Janmaryasya Yata Vedanta Sutra 1.1.2. This same enjoyment is displayed by Krishna and his associates in the spiritual world, but the enjoyment is eternal, whereas here on the material plane it is temporary. There the enjoyment is Brahman, whereas here the enjoyment is Jada. The the Krishna consciousness movement is meant to train one how to transfer oneself from the Jada to the Brahman. The Jada, I think, must mean temporary things, to the Brahman, which is eternal. Because human life is meant for this purpose. Tatato Brahma Jigyasa, Vedanta Sutra 1.1.1. Krishna comes down to teach us how we can enjoy with him on the spiritual platform, in the spiritual world. Not only does he come, but he personally displays his pastimes in Vrindavana and attracts people to spiritual enjoyment. Jai. Text 6. Sometimes Krishna would go to a somewhat distant place to see the beauty of the forest. Then all the other boys would run to accompany him, each one saying, I shall be the first to run and touch Krishna. I shall touch Krishna first. In this way, they enjoyed life by repeatedly touching Krishna. Text 7 to 11. All the boys would be differently engaged. Some boys blew their flutes, and others blew bugles made of horn. Some imitated the buzzing of the bumblebees, and others imitated the voice of the cuckoos. Some boys imitated flying birds by running after the birds, shadows on the ground. Some imitated the beautiful movements and attractive postures of the swans. Some sat down with the ducks, sitting silently, and others imitated the dancing of the peacocks. Some boys attracted young monkeys in the trees. Some jumped into the trees, imitating the monkeys. Some made faces as the monkeys were accustomed to do, and others jumped from one branch to another. Some boys went to the waterfalls and crossed over the river, jumping with the frogs. And when they saw their own reflections on the water, they would laugh. They would also condemn the sounds of their own echoes. In this way, all the cowherd boys used to play with Krishna, who is the source of the Brahman effulgence, for Gyanis desiring to merge into that effulgence, who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for devotees who have accepted eternal servitorship, and who, for ordinary persons, is but an ordinary child. Okay, so obviously everyone has their own choices, but the best choice is eternal servitorship, because that means that you have eternal life. The cowherd boys, having accumulated the results of pious activities for many lives, were able to associate in this way with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. How can one explain their great fortune? It's not very easy. Purport by Srila Prabhupada, as recommended by Srila Rupa Goswami. Tasmat cannot be upayena mana Krishna nivesayet. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.2.4. Somehow or other, whether one thinks of Krishna as an ordinary human child, as the source of the Brahman, effulgence, as the origin of Paramatma, or as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one should concentrate one's full attention. One should concentrate one's full attention upon the lotus feet of Krishna. That is also the instruction of Bhagavad Gita 1866. Sarvadharma Prityaja Mamikam Saranam Braja. Srimad Bhagavatam is the easiest way to directly approaching Krishna. Ishvara Sadyo Hridhi Avarudyate Tra Prithvi Susu Susbis Tat Kshanat. Bhagavatam 1.2.2. 1.1.2. Diverting even a little of one's attention toward Krishna and activities in Krishna consciousness immediately enables one to achieve the highest perfection of life. This is the purpose of the Krishna consciousness movement. Lokasya Janato Vidvams Chakre Satprata Samhitam. Bhagavatam 1.7.6. The secret of success is known to people in general, and Bhagavad Gita 1.7.6. The secret of success is known to people in general, and therefore Srila Vyasadeva, being compassionate towards the poor souls in this material world, especially in this age of Kali, has given us the Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam Puranam Amalam Yad Vaishnavanam Priyam. Bhagavatam 12.13.18. For Vaishnavas who are somewhat advanced, or who are fully aware of the glories and potencies of the Lord, Srimad Bhagavatam is beloved Vedic literature. After all, we have to change this bond. Tata Dehantara Bhakti. If we do not care about Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, we do not know what the next body will be. But if we adhere to these two books, Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, one uses one is sure to obtain the association of Krishna in the next life. Tyakva deham punarjanmaha naiti mam eti so Arjuna. Therefore, distribution of Srimad Bhagavatam all over the world is a great welfare activity for the theologians, philosophers, transcendentalists, and yogis. Yoginam apisarvesam, as well as for people in general. Janmalabha para pumsam ante narayana smriti. Bhagavatam 2.1.6. If we can somehow or other remember Krishna, Narayana, at the end of life, our life will be successful. Okay, so now that just uh, helps us understand how the moment of death is very important, and we have to prepare ourselves for the moment of death. That's why it says Janmalabha Param Pumsam Ante Narayana Smriti. If we can somehow or other remember Krishna, Narayana, at the end of life, our life will be successful. In other words, we'll attain eternal life if we can remember Krishna at the end of life, or at the end of this life. Yeah. Okay, so that is something that we should be serious about. And the only way we can remember Krishna at the end of life is always practicing Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We should always be chanting the glories of Krishna by chanting his names. Every day, and all night, somehow or other, always have the name of Krishna on your lips and always thinking of the Lord. Therefore, it says here, if we can somehow or other remember Krishna, Narayana, at the end of life, our life will be successful. Well, if we practice during our life the message of who Krishna is and remember Krishna, then at the end of our life will be successful because we'll be able to remember Krishna. Because we're practiced every day to remember Krishna. Text 12. Yogis may undergo severe austerities and penances for many births by practicing yama, niyama, asana, and pranayama, none of which are easily performed. Are we is our time finished?
No, Maharaj.
No?
No.
How much time is left?
We have 15 minutes.
Oh, good. Yet, in due course of time, when these yogis attain the perfection of controlling the mind, they will still be unable to taste even a particle of dust from the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of God. So let's see. Yogis may undergo severe austerities and penances for many births by practicing yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, none of which are easily performed, yet in due course of time, when these yogis attain the perfection of controlling the mind, they will still be unable to taste even a particle of dust from the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. What then can we describe about the great fortune of the inhabitants of Rajabhumi, Vrindavana, with whom the Supreme Personality of Godhead personally lived and who saw the Lord face to face? Wow, that's a very nice verse. Very, very nice. Purport, we can simply imagine the great fortune of the inhabitants of Vrindavan. It is impossible to describe how, after many, many births of pious activities, they have become so fortunate. Wow. Many, many births of pious activities. Okay, text 13. My dear King Parikshit, thereafter there appeared a great demon named Agasura, whose death was being awaited even by the demigods. Whose death was being awaited even by the demigods. The demigods drank nectar every day, but still they feared this great demon and awaited his death. The demon could not tolerate the transcendental pleasure being enjoyed in the forest by the cowherd boys. Well, yeah, uh, you have these fearful demons scaring the cowherd boys, like Agasura. Okay, so the demigods drink this nectar every day, but still they feared this great demon, Agasura, and awaited his death. This demon could not tolerate the transcendental pleasure being enjoyed in the forest by the cowherd boys. That means he's a real demon. He can't await it. He can't, all he does is scare people. Purport. One may ask how Krishna's pastimes could be interrupted by a demon. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur answers this question by saying that although the transcendental pleasure being enjoyed by the cowherd boys could not be stopped unless they stopped the transcendental pleasure of their various activities, they could not eat their lunch. Therefore, at lunchtime, Agasura appeared by the arrangement of Yogamaya, so that for the time being, they could stop their activities and take lunch. Changing varieties are the mother of enjoyment. The cowherd boys would continuously play, then stop, and then again enjoy in a different way. Therefore, every day a demon would come and interrupt their sporting pastime. The demon would be killed, and then the boys would engage again in their transcendental pastimes. That's a lot of killing of demons. Text 14. Agasura, who had been sent by Kamsa, was the younger brother of Putana and Bakasura. Therefore, when he came and saw Krishna at the head of all the cowherd boys, he thought, this Krishna has killed my sister and brother, Putana and Bakasura. Therefore, in order to please them both, I shall kill this Krishna along with and his assistants, the other cowherd boys. Agasura thought, if somehow or other I can make Krishna and his associates serve as the last offering of sesame and water for the departed souls of my brother and sister, then the inhabitants of Rajabhumi, for whom these boys are the life and soul, will automatically die. If there is no life, there is no need for the body. Consequently, when their sons are dead, naturally all inhabitants of Raja will die. Wow, what horrible thoughts those are. There are vile people like that. It's unbelievable. Text 16. The boys said, dear friends, is this creature dead? Or is it actually a living python with its mouth spread wide open, just to swallow us all? Kindly clear up this doubt. Well, yeah, it is a gigantic demon with his mouth open, waiting for these boys to enter his mouth. Purport. The friends began to discuss among themselves the reality of the wonderful creature lying before them. Was it dead, or was it actually a living python trying to swallow them? Text 20. Thereafter, they just decided, dear friends, this is certainly an animal sitting here to swallow us all. Its upper lip resembles a cloud reddened by the sunshine, and its lower lip resembles the reddish shadow of a cloud. On the left and right, the two depressions resembling mountain caves are the corners of its mouth, and the high mountain peaks are its teeth. Text 22. In length and breadth, the animal's tongue resembles a broad traffic way, and the inside of its mouth is very, very dark, like a cave in a mountain. Well, how big is that demon? Agasura, terrible. The hot, fiery wind is the breath coming out of his mouth, which is giving off bad smell of burning flesh because of all the dead bodies he has eaten. Oh my God. Just imagine how terrible he is. Then the boys said, has this living creature come to swallow us? If he does so, he will immediately be killed by Bakasura. No. If he will immediately be killed like Bakasura without delay. Thus, they looked at the beautiful face of Krishna, the enemy of Bakasura, and laughing loudly and clapping their hands, they entered the mouths of the python. Python, a big, big snake. After talking about the terrible animal this way and that way, they decided to enter the demon's mouth. They had full faith in Krishna. See, they had full faith in Krishna because they had experienced how Krishna had saved them from the mouth of Bakasura. Now, here was another Asura, Agasura, Therefore, they wanted to enjoy the sport of entering the demon's mouth and being saved by Krishna, the enemy of Bakasura. Well, that's a dangerous uh, way to play, to enter the mouth of this gigantic Bakasura. Text 25. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, who is situated as Antaryami, the Super Soul, in the core of everyone's heart, heard the boys talking among themselves about the artificial python. Unknown to them, it was actually Agasura, a demon who had appeared as a python. Krishna, knowing this, wanted to forbid his associates to enter the demon's mouth. Text 26. In the meantime, while Krishna was considering how to stop them, all the cowherd boys entered the mouth of the demon. The demon, however, did not swallow them, for he was thinking of his own relative who had been killed by Krishna and was just waiting for Krishna to enter his mouth. Text 27. Krishna saw that all the cowherd boys who did not know anyone but him as their Lord had now gone out of his mind and were ways and were helpless, having entered this like straws into the fire of the abdomen of Agasura, who was death personified. It was intolerable for Krishna to be separated from his friends, the cowherd boys. Therefore, as if seeing that this had been arranged by his internal potency, Krishna was momentarily struck with wonder and unsure of what to do. Text 28. Now, what was to be done? How could both the killing of this demon and the saving of the devotees be performed simultaneously? That's a good question. Krishna, being unlimitedly potent, decided to wait for an intelligent means by which he could simultaneously save the boys and kill the demon. Then he entered the mouth of Agasura. Okay, now it's in the mouth of Agasura. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Krishna is known as Anantavirya Sarvana because everything is known to him, because he knows everything perfectly well. It was not difficult for him to find a means by which he could save the boys and at the same time kill the demon. Thus, he also decided to enter the demon's mouth. Wow, everyone's going to the demon's mouth. Dangerous type of play. Text 29. When Krishna entered the mouth of Agasura, the demigods hidden behind the clouds exclaimed, Alas, alas. But the friends of Agasura, like Kamsa and the other demons, were jubilant. Yeah, so they're happy, and the friends and the devotees are upset. Text 30. When the invincible Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna heard the demigods crying, Alas, alas, from behind the clouds, he immediately enlarged himself within the demon's throat, just to save himself and the cowherd boys, his own associates, from the demon who wished to smash them. Purport. Such are the acts of Krishna. Paritranayam sadhanam vinasayam sadhiskatam. Bhagavad Gita 4.8. By enlarging himself within the throat of the demon, Krishna suffocated and killed him, and at the same time saved himself and his associates from imminent death, and also saved the demigods from lamentation. So actually, it's very good what Krishna said. Text 31. Then, because Krishna had increased the size of the body, the demon extended his own body to a very large size. Nonetheless, his breathing stopped. He suffocated, and his eyes rolled here and there and popped out. Oh my God. His eyes were popped out. The demon's life air, however, could not pass through any outlet, and therefore it finally burst out through a hole in the top of the demon's head. Oh, wow, imagine that. Terrible. Text 32. When all the demon's life air had passed away through that hole in the top of his head, Krishna glanced over the dead calves and cowherd boys and brought them back to life. Jai Haribol. Then Mukunda, who can give one liberation, came out from the demon's mouth with his friends and the calves. Text 33. From the body of a gigantic python, a glaring effulgence came up, illuminating all directions, and stayed individually in the sky until Krishna came out from the corpse's mouth. Then all the demigods looked on. This effulgence entered into Krishna's body. Purport. Apparently, the serpent named Aghasura, because of having received association with Krishna, attained mukti by entering Krishna's body. Entering the body of Krishna is called Sayujya Mukti. But later verses prove that Aghasura, like Dantavakra and others, received Swarupya Mukti. This has been broadly described by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakura, with references from the Vaishnava Dosan of Srila Jiva Goswami. Aghasura attained Sarupya Mukti, being promoted to the Vaikuntha planets to live with the same four-armed bodily features of Vishnu. The explanation of how this is so may be surmised as follows. The effulgence came out from the python's body, and because purified, attaining spiritual Suddha Sattva, freedom from material contamination, because Krishna had stayed within the serpent's body, even after the serpent's death. One may doubt that such a demon, full of mischievous activity, could attain the liberation of Sarupya or Sayuja. And one may be astonished about and one may be astonished about this. But Krishna is so kind that in order to drive away such doubts, he had the effulgence, the individual life of the python, wait for some time in its individuality in the presence of all the demigods. Krishna is the full effulgence, and every living being is part and parcel of that effulgence. As proved here, the effulgence in every living being is individual. For sometimes the effulgence remained outside the demon's body. For some time, the effulgence remained outside the demon's body individually and did not mix with the whole effulgence, the Brahmajyoti. The Brahman effulgence is not visible to material eyes, but to prove that every living being is individual, Krishna had this individual effulgence stay outside the demon's body for some time, for everyone to see. Then Krishna proved that anyone killed by him attains liberation, whether Sayuja or Sarupya or Samipya or whatever. But the liberation of those who are on the transcendental platform of love and affection is vimukti. Thus, the serpent first entered the body of Krishna personally and mixed with the Brahman effulgence. This merging is called Sayuja Mukti. But from later verses, we find that Aghasura attained Sarupya Mukti. Text 38 explains that Aghasura attained a body exactly like that of Vishnu. And the verse after that also clearly states that he attained a completely spiritual body, like that of Narayana. Therefore, in 2 or 3 places, the Bhagavatam has confirmed that Aghasura attained Sarupya Mukti. One may argue, how is it that he mixed with the Brahman effulgence? The answer is that as Jaya and Vijaya, after 3 births, again attained Sarupya Mukti and association with the Lord, Aghasura received a similar liberation. Text 34. Thereafter, everyone being pleased, the demigods began to shower flowers from Nanda Kanana. The celestial dancing girls began to dance, and the Gandharvas, who were famous for singing, offered songs of prayer. The drummers began to beat their kettle drums, and the Brahmana offered Vedic hymns. In this way, both in the heavens and on earth, everyone began to perform his own duty, glorifying the Lord. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Everyone has some particular duty. The Shastra has concluded, Nirupita, that everyone should glorify the Supreme Personality of Godhead by his own qualifications. If you are a singer, always glorify the Lord. Always glorify the Supreme Lord by singing very nicely. If you are a musician, glorify the Supreme Lord by playing musical instruments. Swanustita Siddharma Samsadir Haditush Bhagavatam 1.2.13. The perfection of life is to satisfy the personality of Godhead. Very important. Therefore, beginning from this earth up to the celestial kingdom, everyone engaged in glorifying the Supreme Personality of God. The decision of all great saintly persons is that whatever qualifications one has acquired should be utilized to glorify the Supreme Lord. Idam hi pumsas tapasa sutasyava svitstasya suktasya cha buddhi datayo avik Yuto Rita Kavibir Nirupito Yad Uttamasoka Gunanivarnanam. Learned sages have definitely concluded that the infallible purpose of advancement of knowledge, austerity, Vedic study, sacrifice, and chanting of hymns and charity is found in transcendental description of the qualities of the Lord, who is defined in choice poetry. Bhagavatam 1.5.22. This is the perfection of life. One should be trained how to glorify the Supreme Personality of Godhead by one's respective qualities. Education, austerity, penance, or in a modern world, business, industry, education, and so on. All should be engaged in glorifying the Lord. Then everyone in the world will be happy. Krishna comes, therefore, to exhibit his transcendental activity, so that people may have the chance to glorify himself in every respect. To understand how to glorify the Lord is actual research work. It is not that everything should be understood without God. That is condemned. Bhagavad Bhakti Hinasya Jati Shastram Tapastapa Jatai Shastram Bhagavad Bhakti Hinasya Jati Shastram Tapastapa Apranas Dehasya Mandanam Loka Ranjanam Hari Bhakti Sudodaya 3:13. Without Bhagavad Bhakti, without glorification of the Supreme Lord, whatever we have is simply a decoration of the dead body. Text 35. When Lord Brahma heard the wonderful ceremony going on near his planet, accompanied by music and songs and sounds of Jaya, Jaya, he immediately came down to see the function. Upon seeing so much glorification of Lord Krishna, he was completely astonished. Purport. Here the word Anti means near, indicating that even in the higher planetary system, near Brahmaloka, like Mahaloka, Janaloka, and Tapoloka, the festival of glorification of Lord Krishna was going on. Text 36. Ranjam Agar Ram Karma Suskam Vrinda Vane Dubitam Raja O Kasam Bahu Pitam Babu Va Krida Ga Varam. O King Parikshit, when the python shaped body of Agasura dried up into merely a big skin, it became a wonderful place for the inhabitants of Vrindavana to visit. And it remained so for a long, long time. Yeah, well, at least Agasura did something that was good. This incident of Krishna saving himself and his associates from death and of giving deliverance to Agasura, who had assumed the form of a python, took place when Krishna was 5 years old. It was disclosed in Brajabhumi after 1 year, as if it had taken place on that very day. Purport. The word mokshanam means liberation. For the associates of Krishna and for Krishna himself, there is no question about liberation. They are already liberated, being in the spiritual world. In the material world, there are birth, death, old age, and disease. But in the spiritual world, there are no such things, because everything is eternal. As for the python, however, by the association of Krishna and his devotees, Aghasura also achieved the same facility of eternal life. Therefore, as indicated here by the word Atmahi Mokshanam, if the python Aghasura could receive eternal association with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, what is to be said of those who are already associates of the Lord? Sakam Sakam Vijaru Krita Punjam. I'm sorry. Sakam Vijaru Krita Punja. Bhagavatam 10.12.11. Here is proof that God is good for everyone, even when he kills someone. The one who is killed attains liberation. What then is to be said of those who are already in the association of the Lord? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Is our time up?
Yes, Maharaj.
All right, we'll stop right there at text 38 and take it up tomorrow. And we're almost finished with this book. Well, we still have some pages to go. Oh no, we have a lot of pages still. Okay. Okay, are there any questions or comments? It's really interesting. It says, when the python-shaped body of Aghasura dried up into merely a big skin, it became a wonderful place for the inhabitants of Vrindavan to visit. And it remained so for a long, long time. You see, Krishna makes even the most horrible situation a happy thing. Okay, my dear devotees, we'll stop right there for the time being. We'll pick it up again tomorrow. And please chant Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, and be happy. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, ki jai. All glories to the Vaishnava Acharyas, ki jai. All glories to Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Haribol.